Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales has launched to critical praise and fan delight pretty much across the spectrum, and I wanted to take a look at 5 things that this game did, I would say arguably better than the original Marvel Spider-Man. Next week, my plan is to take a look at the opposite, 5 things that the original Marvel Spider-Man did better. So if you want to see more content like this, or any of the other wide breadth of things I've covered, including Batman, Kingdom Hearts, Halo, the sky is the limit over here, be sure to check out that red subscribe button down below. We are trying to grow exponentially as well over on our Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays, where we are actually playing through Spider-Man Miles Morales right now, and I hope to see you over there to just kind of hang out, have a fun time, and chill with us as we play through some games.
Number 5.
So the first thing that we have with Miles Morales is better swinging. Now, when it comes down to it, the swinging is just all around better in this game. There are more air tricks. There's about 30 air tricks and a lot of different combinations of those tricks as well, compared to just the few basic ones that Peter has access to in the first Spider-Man game. There's a higher attention to detail as Miles' swinging is actually less developed, leading to a lot of different styles of swinging as well. So what I mean by that is sometimes Miles flails a little bit more when he swings. Sometimes there's a little bit of a panic or a little bit more different exaggerated movements that Peter wouldn't have, which is a really cool attention to detail considering that Miles has only been doing this for about a year. He's a very young Spider-Man, still trying to come to grips with his powers and what he can do, and still sort of discovering them over the course of this game as well. It also is aided by the inclusion of the Venom jump. This allows Miles to jump higher during swinging. It actually ties into the Venom powers as well, which is a really neat little inclusion there, and overall just the swinging benefits from all these things. It is worth noting too that because Miles is younger and his movements are different, it does lead to his swinging looking very unique from Peter Parker's, and while that doesn't make it better, it is worth mentioning as well because that goes along with the attention to detail that Insomniac was able to provide when actually working on this character. It's very impressive when you actually stop and think about it.
Number 4.
Miles Morales also has a much better stealth system than the previous game. Now, I actually had several complaints about Spider-Man PS4's stealth system, one of those being that once you were spotted, it was very difficult to become unspotted. You could kind of swing away and hide if you're outdoors, but indoors, a lot of times if you were seen, that's it. It's just time to engage for multiple rounds of what becomes a beatdown, and even if you handled things well with stealth, it always devolved into a fist fight. You would take out the first wave of Wilson Fisk's thugs, or maybe, Silver Sable enemies, any of these enemy types that you would take out in the first game, you'd take out a wave or 2 of them, and it always just becomes, well, you're detected now, time for a brawl. And that really didn't help the stealth side of that game at all. But Miles Morales improves on that in a lot of different ways. First off, it's much easier to re-enter stealth due to the camouflage feature that Miles has access to. This is a different power that Peter does not possess, but it's essentially the ability to become invisible and go really into the shadows and not be seen. That actually helps you re-enter stealth mode very often, which makes stealth encounters feel a lot more interesting and more like you are actually utilizing stealth, not just buying time before you get in a fist fight. As well as that, also a lot of the stealth challenges in Miles Morales are just that. They're just stealth. It doesn't really devolve into a fist fight because not only can you go back into stealth, but also it's designed in a way where you can pretty much take out everybody with stealth. It doesn't change formats mid-mission, which I think is a much better way to go if you're trying to actually push stealth as a main feature of the game.
Number 3.
The third thing is one that some people are definitely going to disagree on, which I understand, but that is actually atmosphere. I believe this game has a much better atmosphere than the first game, and the reason for that is because it is centered around a specific time of year. It is centered around the winter holidays, Christmas, and it really does show in the gameplay and in the style of the game, and even in the attire that people wear out in New York. You're able to actually swing around in the snowy New York. Sometimes it's sleeting, sometimes it's snowing, sometimes it's clear skies with just a frost on the ground. You can see footprints because of that. Overall, I do believe that this adds to the atmosphere of the game, much like it did actually in Batman Arkham Origins, where you sort of had I mean, that game was much more empty, but you had this snow and this holiday theme around the entire game, which was an always present theme in the background. Just like that, it is always present in Miles Morales, and I think that this game, while it doesn't focus on Christmas as being a Christmas game, it may be one of the better Christmassy games out there to play around this time of the year, especially for fans of Spidey and the Spider family.
Number 2!
This game also does a much better job with its side missions. Now, hear me out. The side missions in Marvel's Spider-Man are fine. There are some good ones actually too. Tombstone's mission is pretty good. I even have a list of the 5 best missions in that game, in my opinion. So there are some good side missions in that game. However, I would say that one complaint about the original Spider-Man PS4, one of the few complaints that people had, was that a lot of activities felt rushed or shoved in or like they didn't matter. A good example of that was Screwball. Really, nobody had fun doing those missions. And I know there's going to be the one person in the comments saying, I had fun. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you had fun. Most people did not. They really hated them. And there was a lot of stuff like that in the first game where you sort of did it because it was there, but it didn't feel like you were contributing to the overall world or really anything, except just filling out your trophy list. Now, when we came to Spider-Man Miles Morales, we were promised a much more small and focused experience, and they actually did deliver on that in a good way with the side missions, because side missions are now way less filler-y. And what I mean by that is that they actually feel like they have an impact on New York. You're meeting people through those side missions that actually matter. It's not just nameless police officers that you never meet again, who are sort of caricatures. It's not just, a couple throwaway characters that you run into on a rooftop and you do a job for them. This is actual people in Manhattan, in New York, in Harlem. These are people that you are able to get to know and connect with over the course of the game. And some of them you encounter more than once, which is definitely a good way to go about it. It reminds me much more, even though it's not this complex, but it reminds me much more of something like the Strangers system in GTA or in Red Dead Redemption, where you're sort of meeting these zany characters and doing stuff with them and then moving on, and everything is a little more memorable because of it versus just being a throwaway or something to take up your time.
Number one. It's number one.
The final thing that Miles Morales did best, and I'm going to avoid spoilers on this because I think a lot of people are really jumpy about that with this game being newer, is a more focused story. Now, we're not going to look at the ending of the game. We're not going to look at anything like that. But there are just a couple factions in this game that sort of pair off against each other, which leads to a more focused narrative. It also is more focused because it's really dealing on a smaller cast of characters in a good way. The more characters you shove into a game, the more you have to juggle, the harder it actually is to focus your story around one or two elements. And while the first Spider-Man on PS4 did an amazing job with this, I would say that Miles Morales does much better than the PS4 version was able to do, because it really just focuses on Miles, a few of his friends, a couple of enemies, and that's it. It's very focused in on his personal life, on his relationship with his family, and a few other characters like that, and just a couple of villains that relate to Miles without discounting or discarding Peter Parker's legacy and the villains that he's built up. They really went for a substance and, I would say, quality over quantity approach when it comes to the story. And I would say that they did that with just about everything in this game, which really does lead to it being a high quality experience that I think everybody would enjoy no matter what system you're on. I think if you're on PS4, this is a great game for you. If you're one of the early adopters to a PS5, there you go. Fantastic game for you as well. This game is really killing it out there, and I look forward to talking about it more and also taking a look at the things that I think maybe the Peter Parker Spider-Man Marvel game, did that completely out of order, did better than this game as well next week. So hey, be sure to let me know in the comments down below what you think. What do you think this game did better? What do you think it did worse? What are your thoughts on the game overall? I'm always interested in those, even though I don't answer every comment. I read all of them. So please be nice. Guys, I have feelings, and it really matters to me that you're nice to me. This is the validation I get in life, so please. Oh, sorry, that was a little bit of an aside. Anyways, be sure to check out the Let's Play channel if you enjoy hanging out here and having a good time. We play through a lot of games over there. Currently, we're playing through Miles Morales, Demon's Souls on the PS5, and even Spyro Reignited, so there's a lot going on over there, with Arkham Origins Initiation coming up in the near future, and Metal Gear Solid 1 as well. So I look forward to seeing you over there to hang out, chill, have a good time, and get to know each other a little, a little better, a little more intimately. Anyways, as always, if you enjoyed the content, please leave a like, it means a lot, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day, and as always, stay shway.